Hello, we're back. Welcome to the Pats Chat Podcast. I'm Doug Kyed, joined as always by Michael Hurley. Michael, it is Thursday around, it's noonish.
It's
How are you
noonish.
doing?
Good. Are you wearing concealer or how are you covering up the black eye from your fight at the Starbucks at the JW Marriott? It looks like you came out no worse for the wear, so good for you.
Man, that was fun last
Scoop
night
fight.
for everyone to as like the word came out that had
Uh,
happened.
you didn't witness
Um
it, did you?
that's actually like my main emotion about this is one of anger
You
because
wish you were there.
I would say like 90% of my working hours yesterday were done outside of that Starbucks at the JW Marriott, which is 24 floors down from where I am at this moment. And like there was a time that I did leave. I was talking to my former colleague, my former podcast partner, Brad Spielberger, for a long time. It must have happened during that because there was almost no other time in which I was not in that area. I would have given anything to see that. But honestly, like I like Ian Rappaport, get along with him. I like Jordan Schultz, get along with him.
I'm gonna say this for you. Rappaport's being weird about it. He's being weird about it.
I
Being
I
weird
mean
about it.
I would say that like listen, like I said, I like both guys. I get along with both guys. I'm friendly with both guys. I don't know if like either one comes out looking perfect in this,
Oh
but
no.
I actually do applaud them. My second emotion is one of I wish this happened more.
Oh
Like
hell yeah.
I don't want to be a part of it because I don't want to be like I'd love to be a part of it, but I don't think it looks good to be part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it'd be fun to be part of it, but I don't want people to know that I would be part of it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it in public for sure.
Yeah.
I just, as someone who's gained a reputation myself, as occasionally like maybe coming to the defense of Tom Brady during situations where he may or may not have been engaged in some misconduct, I think Rappaport's being oddly defensive of Tom Brady in this thing where it's like, dude, what if it was improper? Like, give it a minute. I don't know. It's just there's a weird. I guess to anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about,
Right. Yeah. We should probably explain.
Jordan Schultz reported that Brady sort of, I think he used the word hosted Matthew Stafford in a
Hmm.
meeting at a ski fancy rich people place in
In
Montana, I
Montana.
assume, Big
Yeah.
Sky. And Rappaport was like, no, it was a chance encounter. He didn't host him. And then like followed up with it.
Well, then,
And
yeah, because then Jordan said, like, I've got a bridge to sell you if you think it was a chance encounter.
right. And then it followed up, and then
And
it
then
turned
Ian
into
reported from Don Yee
it's
that
inaccurate.
that was inaccurate. And
And then
then I think there must have been this encounter outside of the Starbucks at
Jordan
the JW
accosted him.
Marriott.
And I want to give credit. This is probably the first time we'll ever do this. I want to give credit to the pros, Prose, and dramatics that Mike Florio gave when writing the story, because he gave a blow by blow of this
Hmm.
story on Pro Football Talk. And it was just like, it was art. And I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I read it right before bed. For whatever reason, it's not the top story on Pro Football Talk right now. I don't understand that for the
Should
life
be.
of me,
Yeah.
but it was just really well captured by someone who must have been there, or perhaps someone that was in the exchange itself. But boy, when you talk about the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, that's the magic of it. Sometimes you get reporter on reporter beef just playing out at the Starbucks at the JW Marriott.
Out to dinner with some friends last night, and Nick Underhill, former member of the Patriots beat, good friend of mine, was the first one to be like, uh, I think Ian Rappaport and Jordan Schultz had like an altercation at Starbucks. And we were like, what? And he's like, no, oh, wait, no, I think this is fake. And then like 30 seconds later, he's like, no, I think this is real. And then it like started to kind of filter out a little bit more. But yeah, some fun stuff. Who knows what's going to happen next, you know?
I want to get like a good like a good piece to really tell how well Rappaport did it.
Mm.
Um, Schultz then made accusations about Rappaport, we're told. Rappaport, we're told, regards the accusations as unfounded. The two men were essentially face to face. Quote, if you have anything to say, this is actually a bad example because there's a typo. If you have anything to say it to me, say it to my bleeping face, Schultz said, or specific words to that effect. You can't quote people and then say or specific, but you get the point.
Right.
It was very dramatic. I don't necessarily have a side. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I just like the drama. I guess it's the former pro wrestling fan in me. The 13-year-old in me is like, hell yeah, hit him with a chair.
And then after everything happened, Tom Pelissero kind of came over the top rope and referred to it as internet rumors. I think he said that, like the report in the first place, I think he said that Stafford also has a house in Montana.
Sure.
I
I mean,
I don't know what to make of any of this, but like,
it's the classic case of the big guy. It's kind of little brothering a reporter that might have something that they don't, I feel.
and I mean, I don't know what happened. I have no idea. But like, Stafford kind of already did this with Sean McVay, right? Before he got traded, he like had a chance encounter with him in Mexico.
Hmm.
Just like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me
Listen, Doug,
twice.
it's a small country, Mexico. People are running into each other left and right down there.
It's
So
a really small
it's
state, Montana, one of the smallest ones.
they were just talking about skiing and conditions and the powder and all that. So it's weird. Jordan Schultz, do you know the first thing I think of whenever I see him? Because he's always been sort of reporting for like
Mhm.
it was not like it's like who's he working for? Like, do I take this report
Mhm.
100%? He is a big knowing the draft picks guy, from what I remember.
Mhm.
And one night I was working the NFL draft, getting ready, the Patriots on the clock, and I see a tweet come across my screen. It said the Patriots are taking offensive lineman Cole Strange out of the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And I was like, you can't be serious. Like, this is like a joke Twitter account. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is it like NBA Centel? No, it was the truth. So I'll always remember that
Yeah.
Jordan Schultz report.
It was not Jordan Sentel. It was Jordan Schultz. No, Jordan, good guy. Ian Report, good guy. Tom Pelissero, good guy. I don't
Oh,
know Mike
come on,
Florio.
Doug. Come on,
Yeah,
Doug.
I don't know Mike Florio, so I guess I'm on. I don't know
You know who was kind of rude to me when I met him? I was
who.
surprised. Sal Palantonio. Wasn't nice. Kind of blew me off. Kind of looked over me. I was like, all right, stop talking to me, kid. And I was like, all right, I will.
It's interesting. I have an event like this. I don't know if I was saying this on the podcast. I don't think I was. I think I was telling people in person. But like, you do reach a point of oversaturation where like I know a lot of people here because I've been covering
Mm.
this goddamn thing since 2015. I've been covering the league for a long time. I've been to Super Bowls. I've been to sometimes like I would love to do like a study of my brain to figure out like at what point I know someone, they know me, and I'm like, when I'm passing them, I'm just not going to say hi to them anymore. You know, like
Mm.
like we know too many other people here. I'm closer to too many other people here. I like too many other people here. I can't say hi every 30 seconds. This one, I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to
Just throw up the deuces.
just keep walking.
Hey,
Yeah.
we'll catch up later. We'll catch up later.
You can only have too many of those conversations. Yeah.
I met Rappaport before it might have been Lady Gaga's press conference. He was like next to me, so I introduced
Mhm.
myself because like I knew Jeff and
Yeah.
Jeff had knew him, and I just get excited. And he was nice, but
He's great.
I got to see the Rappaport machine in action because he was like
Mm.
juggling 13 phones. So he was like being nice to me, but he was
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
and I was
Right.
like, dude, I'm gonna let you go do that Rappaport stuff because
Yeah.
that's intense.
Big time. Eliot Wolf talked to us here in Indianapolis yesterday and took accountability for the roster, came right out of the gate, said, it's on me. Should have done more. We'll do more. But the one quote, and I don't know how deeply you were studying Elliot Wolf's press conference, but I would say that the one thing that multiple people have brought up to me down here when talking about the Patriots and when talking about Elliot Wolf, media members, people who are on teams, was his comment about how the Patriots could have been more thorough, I believe the quote was, in free agency last year. And they were basically just like, what do you mean by that? Did you make anything out of that comment?
I want to get the exact quote because I was piecemealing it together. I was offline at the moment, but it sounded like that was a line that didn't sound like accountability to me because it kind of sounds like, well, there wasn't enough background or something to that effect where it's kind of like, well, I mean, all right, I think maybe just being more thorough, just some of the information that we got on some of the players wasn't as thorough as it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like saying they didn't tell me Chukwuezekorfor was ready to quit football, stuff like that. But I don't know. I guess he is part of that accountability, but it feels like it was. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm making too much of it, but it kind of sounds like he was sold a bill of goods on maybe some players that didn't pan out.
Yeah, the way that I immediately took it was we had a coaching staff that was very inexperienced, that hadn't been around the league very much, and we weren't able to get the type of intel out of players that we could have with a more experienced staff of people who had been around. And now I think that's them saying, like, now we do have that experienced staff and we should be able to get more intel on players. But like what someone I was talking to last night about this, not a media member, someone who's like within an organization was like, yeah, but isn't it also the coach's jobs to like coach those players regardless? Like it's
Yeah.
great to like have worked with a player before and know you can work with him, but like also the strength of coaching and within an organization is to take some sort of unknown and still be
Yeah.
able to mold them and influence them. And like to the Chukwuekorfor point, like something that someone told me last night, like who was with the Patriots last year, was essentially like, yeah, we benched him mid-series, probably the right move to do that. Didn't know he was going to quit. Like,
Right. But no, that's
wouldn't have
that
been
point.
able to guess that
Well,
one.
first of all, you didn't get good players, so I don't blame the coaches
Right.
for a lot of that. But
Yeah.
with the core four, I didn't break the news that they signed him. I followed that by whoever. Did you break it?
No.
Someone broke it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Rappaport, maybe it was Jordan Schultz. I forget. But it happens. And in my job at the time, you write it up. You do a story. You say the Patriots signed this guy, and then you do some background work. And within 5 minutes, you can read 10 stories about his issues with the coaching staff in Pittsburgh, why he was on the outs. And that was from major outlets like the Post Gazette or whatever, but it's also from like Steel City Blog or whatever it might be, and you can kind of get the details on this guy. And that took me 5 to 15 minutes, where you kind of say, okay, red flag, at least in terms of coachability, in terms of teamwork, in terms of all of that, and then you throw it in with an inexperienced offensive line coach, and it's probably an inexperienced offensive coordinator is probably a bad combination all around. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would agree with that.
And like to come out and be like, yeah, you know what, 4-13 didn't get it done. It's like, I don't know, man. You stood there and I'm big on the August press conference. That rubbed me the wrong way. The arrogance sort of in that August one, where it's kind of like a lot of things going on that you guys don't know about, and it was kind of like, well, like what,
Right.
And I don't know. Yesterday didn't completely erase or begin to erase much of that to me.
I think that's fair, but I also think that like he did a better job yesterday. Of like, I think I don't think that it was like. I think the August press conference did not go well. I think yesterday's went a lot better for him.
Fair enough.
And that it was just, I don't know, a better overall vibe on his part. I think he did a better job communicating. I don't think there was like a lot of issues that people could specifically take. My new background is the Starbucks at the JW Marriott. I apologize for not making it that beforehand. I really
Do you
messed
think
up.
that's right where it was? Like right there? Like
Yeah, I
right
think it
in
was
that
probably
spot?
around there somewhere.
Right. I can't touch on your screen, but if someone wants to give a thumbs up, that's so sick. I can't believe you were there, man.
Well, I wish
Who would you fight?
I was
if
there
you
minutes
could
ago.
Pick anyone at the combine
Ooh,
right now. Who would you have a little altercation with in front of the Starbucks?
that's a really, really, really great question because there's like real answers that I could use.
Yeah. Either one, or just for fun. I don't know. I'm trying to think myself. Who would I want to throw hands with?
I think like these are among my best friends in media on the beat, whatever. But I think that sometimes like Andrew and I will consider like Mass Live our biggest competition in
Yeah,
events like
kind of like
this.
a Anchorman situation, like a
Yeah. So I think like it would probably have to be either like Mark Daniels or Chris Mason, despite the fact that I see them every day when I'm out here. I love talking to them. I love hanging out with them. I think that like it would have to be like me and Andrew against Mark, Chris, and Karen.
yeah.
And Karen might be the one who comes out on top in that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good answer. While you were talking, I decided who I would be, and it would be the Bengals security employee who told the Patriots camera guy, "The damage is done, my friend." I want to fist fight that man. He did sound old, so
Yeah.
I'm a little hesitant to fight an old man.
Yeah.
But I would definitely verbally accost him and tell him the damage is done, my friend.
I do think, and once again, don't think I've said this on the podcast before. I've definitely said it in real life before. I will say that, like, if there was a fight, a tag team match between like all outlets on the
Mhm.
Patriots beat, I like me and Andrew's chances. Like, I think we'd be among the top contenders.
You famously go to the gym.
Right.
For anyone
Andrew
that doesn't
definitely goes
know,
to the gym.
I'll be like, "Doug, when do you want to do the podcast?" He'll be like, "Well, I'm at the gym, and then I'm going to the gym later, and then I'm going to go to the gym after the podcast." So you're strong, that's for sure.
Stronger than some. I haven't been to the gym this week though. Apparently, Sean McDermott is always there.
He likes to prepare. He
Yeah.
likes preparation. He likes coordination. He likes a well thought out plan, and for him, that includes going to the gym.
It's very true. He appreciates organization. A plan,
coordination, and
sure
then execution. Ultimately, is where the money's made. But he's not there yet. He's still in the preparation stage.
It's very true. Anything else from Eliot Wolf's press conference that stood out to you on Wednesday?
I mean, everyone's making a big deal about the final say thing. I think don't you get it? Don't you get the structure? Like, I understand someone has to sit there and be like, I have the final say. Vrabel told us enough, maybe Vrabel's not going to pick every single one of the, how many practice squad guys you have now? Like 13?
16, yeah. Right.
So he's not going to pick all 70 guys.
Yeah.
He's probably going to have very strong influence on the top 40.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my feel. I think he's not going to be able to get everyone he wants because he's a coach. He's not a GM. I think Wolf will work with.
Well, yeah, and like he's not breaking down the film on 7th round picks and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like that would be impossible for him to do. And I do think it's nice to have someone who's probably going to be a little bit more self-aware about that than maybe like Bill Belichick was at times, to overrule people in that regard. Because I think the most important thing is that, like, he's the guy. He's at the top of the organization. He's below the crafts. Like, he has the most power beyond the crafts. But the most important thing is that he has people that he trusts to be making those picks in the 7th round, or to be making those picks for the practice squad and all those different things. And I do believe that he has that in both Ryan Cowden and in Eliot Wolf. We'll see how long this current structure exists, because like, it obviously is a little bit odd that he inherited Eliot Wolf as his executive vice president of player personnel.
Right.
But then Eliot Wolf's number 2 is Ryan Cowden, who is a guy that Mike Vrabel worked with in Tennessee. John Stryker, I don't know how exactly.
Stretch. We go Stretch.
We go Stretch. He's very heavily involved, it seems like, in a lot of things. Like, those are the 3 guys that you see together a lot, is like Vrabel, Stretch, and Cowden. So I don't know. We'll see how that all goes. We'll see how that all transpires.
Sir Jean-Luc Picard has left the front office, and Patrick Stewart, which I can't say I know everything he did, but I think it stands out when a high-ranking member of the front office just bounces, given all of the changes going on this year in terms of how much the team relied on the front office to build the roster last year compared to, say, this year.
Yeah, and I mean, like, for Pat, taking that Nebraska GM job, though, too, I think is like somewhat of a no-brainer. I think like that's a very good job to have. So if you're offered that, I think it's kind of tough to say like, no, I'll stick around New England, where I don't know what
in the chain of command.
Right. I don't know how things are. Yeah. And that is the other thing too, is that, like, so now Pat was in the organization before before Eliot Wolf took over. So then Eliot Wolf brings in Alonzo Highsmith as his guy. And then when Vrabel gets hired, he brings in Ryan Cowden as his guy. So, like, yeah, it is a good point of, like, the organizational structure now pretty much goes, I think, like, Eliot Wolf, Ryan Cowden, Alonzo Highsmith, Matt Groh, and that's before you get into the director of pro personnel, who was Pat Stewart, and the director of college scouting, who's Cam Williams. So yeah, it is kind of a unique organization to have so many guys above those two roles because like the titles aren't changing. I think Matt Groh is still director of player personnel. Like he used to be the number one guy below Bill. And now it's like he just keeps getting kind of pushed down further and further and further as more people take on power and bring in their own guys.
He was doing training camp press conferences on the field talking about how he spends money and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, what's going on? Because like Bill's right over there. Isn't he the guy? Like, what are we doing? That was a weird year.
That definitely did make sense when Nick Caserio was in that role as director of player personnel, just because he had been in the organization for 20 years or whatever it was. But then to be like, for him to leave for Houston and then Matt Groh to take over that role, it does like to a certain, like you carry less gravitas when you're not Nick Caserio. You've been in that role for 15 years or whatever it was. So yeah, that was interesting. But I don't know, this org chart might look a whole lot different by the time that we're in Indianapolis next February.
What you just witnessed, Doug, was me biting my tongue to not mention other members of the Patriots that went to Houston.
I've not seen Jack Easterby this week.
What's he doing?
I don't know. Swimming and he's like Scrooge McDucking with gold coins. I don't know. He's swimming in money.
I could see him like barnstorming around, spreading the word of his comedy and chaplaining. I don't know. Wikipedia's got nothing on him.
It's been what he's doing these days.
It's been 2.5 years. Man, I miss those days. Someone wrote a story on him in January, Sports Business Journal.
Wow.
But I don't have any articles remaining this month, so I'll never know it.
That's too bad. You've already read that article 3 times.
Apparently, I have it printed on the walls. Yeah, so I don't know. That stood out just as sort of a sign of, to me, I took that as, like you kind of just said there, Vrabel entered the picture and is the top of the chart. You know, like so.
Yeah. Vrabel said that Patriots are going to be aggressive in free agency. Eliot Wolf, like, I don't want to say he walked it back, but I think that he tempered expectations maybe a little bit more by saying that the Patriots are not going to be frivolous. I also asked him if they expect to spend up to or nearly up to the cap. And he said that, like, you probably aren't going to do that. Like, there's the option to do that with a lot of guys. So, like, I'm kind of now in the boat where, like, they've got 120-ish million in cap space. Like, maybe they come out of this offseason with like 20 million left or something like that, which, like, you need some of that money to just pretty much exist during a season, because you have to sign practice squad guys. You have to, like, fill your roster when guys get hurt. Like, there's money that, like, you have to have left over. But we'll see how much they have left over. I think they are going to be aggressive, and it seems like they're meeting to discuss a lot of free agents. Seems like they are going to be in on a lot of those top guys. Chad Graff of The Athletic, you mentioned this before we started, put out there that T. Higgins, not part of the plan, but certainly seems like they are going to be focusing quite a bit on the trenches.
Yeah. Even Eliot Wolf saying that yesterday, that the draft is meaty in the middle.
Meaty in the middle. Yep. He said that tight end, defensive tackle, running back are positions of strength. And that, it's meaty in the middle. But I have heard from people that think the Patriots are still in a pretty good spot at number 4. And
well, are you surprised? This is kind of, before we go into that part, like the Devon Godshaw. Seek out a trade. That's kind of interesting in a time when everyone's talking D-line, and you have a guy that just got money last year, and a coach who values that position, I would say. That one stood out as sort of, I don't know, Godshaw didn't seem to be, he's not a star or anything, but he didn't strike me as a problem last year.
We might have more information on that later in the week, but I would say that he's like, as a space eating nose tackle, maybe not the greatest fit for the Terrell Williams, Mike Vrabel defense. They want guys to, like, I think it was Vrabel who said, we want to be playing on their side of the line of scrimmage, meaning like we want our defensive linemen to be getting upfield, and Devon Godshaw is a better fit to be like not on the other side of the line of scrimmage and staying on the line of scrimmage to 2 gap. And like, was he perfect in that role? No, but he's still better at that than pass rushing. So I think they want to get more athletic. They want to get more aggressive in their defensive tackles. But I don't know. I mean, like Devon Godchaux just signed a 2-year, $20 million deal. I know a decent amount of that was signing bonus, but like, I don't know if that's an easy guy to trade at this point.
Probably not. So when the question is, do the Patriots trade for Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry? That's really what that leads to.
It's a really good question. And like the Landry thing, I think is particularly interesting because usually, and I'll mention Devon Godchaux on this as well, like usually when you hear a guy has been permitted to seek a trade or is in like, that's usually later in the process. Like the trades have already been pursued and maybe there's not a lot of bites in the whatever when you're fishing for it. So this is kind of like a late stage of like, he's available for trade. Like we're letting everyone know. And sometimes that doesn't happen. So would it shock me if guys who are mentioned in trade rumors got released? No. And if I'm the Patriots with Harold Landry, yeah, it would be great to have Harold Landry, but I don't love the idea in general of having to trade for a bunch of veterans because like you want to build for the future. So you would rather potentially wait for that guy to get cut and then sign him rather than having to give up draft capital.
I'm with you. But what if you look at it as maybe some of your mid-late-ish round picks, your 4th through 6th round?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If even if it takes multiple ones of those, you're kind of accomplishing both tasks of influx of new talent and established veterans that you desperately need at some position. So it's a tough needle to thread or thread to needle, depending on how you'd like to do your stitching. But if you can sort of get both, I think you're in it, because if you rely on the draft, half those guys are going to work out. Some are going to be disappointments. And then you're a year or two down the line, you're like, oh crap, those guys aren't good. At least you know with the veterans.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If they could be a pick swap or like a day 3 pick, then yeah, I'm on board. Yeah.
Well, and that's why with Chad's report about T. Higgins, it's not surprising in the wake of the franchise news. Like, I think a lot of people who are familiar with the existence of the Cincinnati Bengals heard that and immediately thought they're going to franchise and trade him.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're giving up a high second or late, like next year's first, and paying him $30 million a year. That I don't think anyone is going to be too excited to do. Someone might, right? Like someone always does something like that. Usually it's a higher caliber receiver though. Like when it's Stephon Diggs, when it's Tyreek Hill, you do that. I don't quite put T. Higgins there.
No. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. Like, does anyone actually do that? And what does it take? Because it's kind of a tough thing to navigate.
No, it definitely is. And like, I don't know. I don't know what the Bengals do with T. Higgins. And like, this is not Cat's chat. This is Pat's chat. But they have like some hard decisions to make because T. Higgins and Jamar Chase share an agent right now, which makes things kind of weird. And if they sign Jamar Chase first, then I think that increases T. Higgins' value. I think that then they would have to sign him for more money because Jamar Chase is going to sign for like $40 million or something crazy like that. So then if you're like his number 2 and you're almost as good, then it's like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to get a big payday as well.
Right. And Trey Hendrickson is up after this year.
So he wants a new deal too. But if you re-sign Higgins first, then like, I don't know when you get Chase done. And then if you just franchise Higgins, that means that he's probably not getting a long-term deal. And then he's not going to be happy. Chase isn't happy that he doesn't have a new contract. Burrow's not happy that they haven't taken care of his guys. It's a tough situation to be in. And I would say
2 more problems. Let me throw 2 more.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
One is you have a little weenie head coach. Never a good thing in this situation. Did you watch it? I've watched like a few episodes of the AFC North Hard Knocks in the season.
Didn't see
you've got like Mike Tomlin, and you're like, this guy fully grasps his tentacles are in every single person in that room. Like he has them believing. You have John Harbaugh has been doing it forever. They barely showed Stefanski because it's point, but then they would go to Taylor and it was like, he's not it. Like he ain't it. So that's an issue. The other issue is you had an offense last year that ranked 6th in points and 9th in yards, pretty good, and a defense that ranked 25th in both.
Yes.
So it's like you want to pay Chase and Higgins to keep Burrow happy, and you're going to have to let someone like Hendrickson walk or trade, and then your 25th ranked defense gets worse. it's a problem.
And like they've been drafting heavily on defense, and they've hit on like one guy out of like 50. It's like they should be so much better on defense, and they're just not. They do have DeMarcus Covington as their new defensive line
That's true.
coach. Al Golden, I believe, is their defensive coordinator. One other fun fact: this is Cats chat now. Scott Peters, their new offensive line coach.
No kidding.
I
forgot
was just
that.
scrolling through Twitter yesterday. Scott Peters was doing a scrum in the Indiana Convention Center. Just really caught me by surprise that the Bengals are just making their position coaches available at the NFL Scouting Combine. But apparently, I was talking to Ben Baby, their ESPN reporter, and he was like, "Well, he hasn't been available yet, so they just made him available at the Combine." I'm like, "Wow, that's an interesting way to handle an organization." But it is the same organization that has an 89-year-old owner who's also their general manager. So,
Fair enough.
This is a rant. I love a rant. We love a rant here on Pat's Chat. Organizations who don't do things normally are so funny to me. And like the Patriots are kind of one of them because like 29 teams, I believe, have a general manager.
So you got the Cowboys?
The ones who don't?
Yeah, Cowboys.
Well,
Bengals.
No, because like I think Jerry Jones is officially titled as the general manager.
Okay. I thought you meant like someone other than the owner.
No, but then like the Bengals do not have someone with the title of general manager. The Patriots do not have someone with the title of general manager. And there might be one more. But I just like the Patriots don't like the title of general manager, which to me is just like
Panthers.
The Panthers don't have one?
They haven't? Oh. No, that's wrong. Google has lied to me.
Yeah, I think they've got one. This is a Google chat now. Let me see. Okay. The last one. Okay, no, the Cowboys are the last one. So Jerry Jones, team's owner, holds the additional titles of president and general manager. In the 2010s, he ceded some decision-making to power to his son, Stephen Jones, and senior personnel executive Will McClay. So it's the Bengals, the Patriots, and the Cowboys. Like, I guess when you're the Patriots and your executive vice president of player personnel has all the duties of a general manager, it's not that weird. But like, if it works for 29 other teams, shouldn't all 32 just do it? And my final point here is that the Saints are another one who is weird because Mickey Loomis is their general manager. Mickey Loomis has zero scouting on his resume. He was like the CEO of finance on the Seahawks. And now he's been the general manager there for like 20 or 30 years or something like that. And that's just such a weird organizational chart where like your general manager is basically like your cap guy. And then you have to rely on scouts to be your actual general manager. It's weird. Everyone should just do things normally because it works for the other teams.
He's also was the EVP of basketball operations for the New Orleans Pelicans for 7 years.
At the same time that he was general manager of the Saints.
That's crazy.
I wasn't even going to bring that up because like I didn't want to stray from my overall point. But like that is one of my favorite facts is that he was basically like the GM of the Saints and Pelicans at the same time. Like
it's actually it's like the ultimate case in the reason that the Rooney Rule had to be pushed upon, because it's the ultimate case of rich billionaires just being like, oh, I know this guy, he can do the job.
Right.
Like there's no other reason for Mickey Loomis to run the basketball operations for the New Orleans NBA team. So Mike Brown, much older than I would have guessed. I knew he was older, but 89 is very old. No, if I'm not ageisming him, but yeah, Mike Brown doesn't sound like an old guy's name, but it is.
Yeah, Mikes are typically around the age of 38, 39 years old.
Correct.
Mike Brown, not like basically 3 times that age.
Correct.
Apparently still watches practice every day, does his due diligence, but like just it's as if your local hardware store owned a team. Like that's just the vibe of the Bengals is that like, hey, our owner is the same guy who was our owner 60 years ago, and his daughter is kind of the owner, and then like her husband is also very heavily in charge. It's like a family business, which I know a lot of these NFL teams are, but like so much weight is put on the family to make these decisions that it is a little bit odd. Yeah.
And they, for years, it stood out. I think it was like Bert Breer or someone tweeted a video years ago of Bengals players waiting for the light to change so they could cross the street and get to practice. And I
Yes.
was like, what the hell? And then something happened last year. Maybe Burrow was hurt and like, it blew up
Yeah.
and everyone went crazy. And I think it shamed them into doing something about it. I'm not sure what, like closing traffic during practice. I don't even know. But it's like, what do you like? That is in high school. We had to get dressed in school and walk about a quarter mile to the practice field
Yeah.
because we were a small Catholic high school where
You weren't
sports
the
weren't
Cincinnati
really
Bengals?
sports weren't super important. We weren't bringing in money for the
Right.
school. We were just a bunch of kids trying to exercise. Professional, like that is so archaic in terms of what the NFL is. It's like
Yeah.
Foxborough Stadium with the metal benches,
Yeah.
but in 2025. So that is indicative of the Bengals.
That made me remember that we have not talked about the report card yet.
Oh, the report card. Now, can I get out ahead of the report card talk?
Hell
Because obviously they did poorly, worse than last year. Like there was not enough time to improve so many of those things. Like they were what, 29th last year?
They were 29th and 31st this year, yeah.
So when you have that many issues, like they worked on the family room, they started laying out plans for the new weight room and all that. But if you're surveyed, let's say you've been on the team. Let's say you're Kendrick Bourne. I'm trying to think of someone that's been on the team for a while. And in 2023, you get asked, how's the weight room? You're like, it sucks. And then in 2024, they ask how the weight room, it still sucks. It's going to get better.
I agree with you. And I like a lot of the issues that are making them 31st will eventually possibly push them up into let's say 19th into a better spot because there's like training room, weight room, locker room. Those are three things that will easily improve when the facility opens in 2026. And they couldn't rush a facility and open it in days. Right. I'm not in construction. I'm not a foreman. But I do know that a $50 million building takes longer than, let's say, a week to open. So a lot of those things will improve. I will still say though that things they could have improved on, they're still not top 10,
Yeah.
No,
I don't mean to excuse them, but some of it was kind of like, what did you think was going to happen? That's kind of my takeaway.
I want to talk about the plane because I am not a billionaire. I don't know how long it takes to buy a plane. I don't know what the logistics of having a team travel without a plane that you own is. I do know that when the Patriots bought the plane, a big deal was made that they were one of the few teams that did own their own plane, right?
Not just one, but two. I'm just quickly looking up. I Googled how much does a 747 cost?
Yeah.
Somewhere between $250 and $367 million.
Yeah. They're expensive.
A lot of money.
I looked into buying one. I was like, this is out of my price range right now. Maybe in a few years I'll be able to buy
just went for the Super 80, just the 2 and 2. You don't need the 747.
But I've been hearing horror stories might be strong, but bad things about this plane for years now. So it's great that they own their own plane, but if players are constantly this plane sucks,
right?
Maybe you don't have to keep using it.
Right.
There's no Wi-Fi on the plane, which players said. They said that there's ashtrays in the armrests, which indicates that it's a plane old enough that people were allowed to smoke on the plane.
You want me to look up that when was smoking last allowed?
Yeah. And I was talking to someone last night who was with the team last year, and it was within the first few minutes of the conversation of them being like, yo, and that plane shit, that's real.
It's tough because fans don't have a stomach for it. They're like, oh,
no,
Ryan,
exactly.
Millionaires. But it's let's say you're 6'7",
right,
330 pounds, and you just popped your quad in Dallas,
right,
and you got hit 17 times. And it's not this on the road. Teams need to get on the bus and go home.
Yeah.
So it's not like you got treatment and ice and massage and you soaked in a tub. You got a shower, you got dressed, you stumbled to the bus, you drove to an airfield, then you got on a plane, and now it's going to be 5 hours till you're back in your car.
And if that plane sucks, it's God damn it. Yeah.
At least if you're all those, I do sympathize not from the like spoiled babies,
No.
just from the like you do need some comfort, and it's not like you're flying to, I don't know, Florida for vacation. It's
Right.
a
And
different
like,
scenario.
I know the Patriots didn't play many like primetime games this year, so there weren't a lot of situations, but like there were situations where they had to like end a game and like maybe you want to sleep on the flight. Maybe you want to like, yeah, you want to be comfortable. You want to have room to stretch out and be around and like, and it's not just the 53 players on the roster who are on this flight. There's coaches, there's media relations, there's like team media employees. Like there's a lot of people on that flight. So like not everyone's going to get a first class seat. No, like, yeah, it's a huge plane, but there's also a lot of people on that plane, and older planes just don't always function as well as newer planes. And I think that without going into too much detail, like plays into this as well.
Well, I just want to follow up because I did my research on when smoking was last allowed on
Yes.
commercial flights, and you'll like this. Now, anyone listening that's like 25 or younger doesn't even know what life was like when smoking was ubiquitous and everywhere. Like, remember, Doug, you're a kid and you want to go to Friendly's with your family. They say smoking or non. Friendly's is literally a hallway, and it's like, oh, I'll take the non-smoking seat, and you're in a non-smoking booth 6 feet away from the smoking section where everyone's just ripping butts, but it was safer. So in 1988, the United States banned smoking on domestic flights under 2 hours. So all those flights you're hopping on that are less than 2 hours, no smoking on those. And then 2 years later in 1990, the ban was extended to all domestic flights over 6 hours. So that is, the bulk of your domestic flights. You might be like driving up to Maine if you're going to San Diego just to get an extra 30 minutes so you can smoke. But I just love that. Like, you can't smoke in the 2-hour flights. That'll get you too much secondhand smoke. But if it's a 5-hour flight, we're not. We don't
want to. We don't want to upset anyone.
So the idea is, I guess the planes might be that old. Is that accurate?
I don't know. I don't know when they were, but like, you're talking about the 90s at the very
1991.
least.
1991.
Seems like it's a plane from 1991.
And it flew American Airlines until 2016. So that thing's been around, literally.
1991 would have been they would have graduated high school in 2009, I think, that plane.
Yeah. So it's off. They would be more like Paramore than we would, like that was their era.
But I mean, we're not young guys. That plane's 5 years younger than us.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that. I would want maybe something with it that starts with a 2 at least.
I think my colleague Andrew Callahan was born in 1991, so I don't know if I'd want. If he was a plane, I don't know if I'd want to.
That makes me dislike Andrew a little bit.
Would he be the one? Yeah, would he be the one you would fight?
Might have to fight him at a Starbucks. I did this quickly at the report cards because I didn't have a chance to check yesterday. I believe Clark Hunt was an F last year, like an F minus. He's a C minus this year, so he's up to 26th. So
the Crafts ranked pretty low on the old report card. Gerard Mayo though got what, a B plus?
He got a B plus, which sounds good, but it was what, 24th?
Right. Yeah.
So players just like coaches.
Listen, I'm sure like there was meetings like held yesterday for media members to be like, here's how the report card works. I didn't attend them. I was doing other things. I was trying to make better use of my time. But like there are elements of like they're 29th and they got a C minus, or like they're like 20th and got an F. Like I don't totally understand the scale that we're working with here on a lot of these things.
They do explain the weight of it. I don't know if
I
didn't
get that. I didn't understand. My brain wasn't functioning correctly.
If the club owner has an F, but the treatment of families has an A, the club owner getting an F counts about 2.5 times more toward the final score.
Okay, that makes sense.
So when it comes to ownership, the Crafts got a D, which is better. It's tied with the Steelers, which is kind of surprising. And it's better than only the Cardinals, Bidwell, the Panthers and Tepper, and the Jets and Woody Johnson. So that's, and there was only one other D grade, which was the Bucks at D plus. Everyone else was a C minus or better. The best owner, for what it's worth, the Dolphins, Vikings, and Falcons.
Yeah.
The Falcons. Huh.
Dolphins ranked real high. Yeah. Falcons, Arthur Blank.
You know what? Look at the Dolphins. A plus, 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 A. Wow.
Yeah.
People are just happy down there. You wear shorts all the time. And
I think they have a cool facility, like a cool new facility. Mike McDaniel, like probably a guy who players like playing for,
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in warm
Yeah.
weather. You're
Yeah,
not,
but I think overall, like, they kind of addressed the treatment of families, because last year it was like treatment of families F- or whatever.
Right.
It's like, Jesus, what are they slapping children? Like, what are they doing to these these poor families? So to improve on that, I think is a good thing. I don't know, like you said, the four things that will be improved with the new building won't come into play until next year. So
yeah.
I didn't expect, and that's the bulk of this thing. Like, I think the next thing that they could fix as easily as the family is probably the planes, but that's easy for me to say because a brand new 747 costs $367
But you
million.
don't have to own the plane. I understand that, like,
Yeah.
once you buy the plane, you want to use the plane. But like, if the plane is this big of an issue,
Sell the plane.
Can you sell a plane from that long ago? Probably, I guess. But yeah, or just like be like, yeah, it didn't work out. Got to start renting the planes again.
Yeah, it did feel kind of like a PR advertisement thing, just to have those things down at TF Green all the time. Just
Right.
like, there's the Patriots plane,
Right.
6-time champ. And it's like, all right,
Right.
well, it's over.
They should put the grade on it now. Like every year.
F.
D
That would be a
minus.
great prank. Team travel. F.
Yeah, that lowers the value of. But no, I did even get like emails being like, "You mean you can't put 60 people on a 737, have them be comfortable?" It's like, apparently not. I don't think the players are lying.
Yeah. And it's
So,
like, I don't know. Do you want me to click on someone that did really well and see what it says for travel for them? Like the
hell yeah.
Dolphins got an
Dolphins.
A+ for travel.
Yeah.
Let's see what it says. It says 100% of the Dolphins players report that they have a comfortable amount of personal space on team flights, one of two teams in the NFL with a perfect score, and the players feel that their team's travel schedule is very efficient, a rank 1 out of 32. That could be a factor for the Patriots, where Gerard Mayo had never been a head coach before and been in charge with such thing, leaning on everyone else to make such things. So that could have been a step back. Raiders, 100% report having a comfortable amount of personal space. You already know.
And those are long flights from Vegas.
Yeah, they travel a lot, and they like so it's comfort and it's travel schedule.
Yeah.
And the Patriots, let me see, 96% of the Vikings believe they have a comfortable amount of space, and the team's travels. So that's what they look at. So space and scheduling does feel like something that you can fix if you want to not get an F in the NFLPA survey next year, and that's going to mean renting airplanes probably that were built, in the past 25 years.
Since the advent of the internet?
Since planes that have been built after you had to go through security to get to the gate.
Yes. Planes that you cannot legally smoke on. Do you think
that was my takeaway?
Do you think the travel schedule Do you think the travel schedule would improve, like the travel grade would improve if they could be ripping cigs on the flight?
Like a Len Dawson in the locker room picture.
Yeah.
Just throw some lucky strikes at every seat and be like, you know what, guys, we know you don't have that much space, but you do have these ashtrays. And what good are ashtrays?
Might as well make use of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So 39% of the Patriots players report having a comfortable amount of personal space, which is much less than 100%, which is the top of the class. And they also said the travel schedule is not efficient. They rank 30th out of 32 teams on travel schedule. You've got to be better at travel schedule. I'm just going to say, I've never been a traveling secretary for a team or whatever it is that does that, but you've just got to be better than worst. So they want an upgraded team plane, no Wi-Fi, too small, ashtrays.
I think they go through security before they even get to the airport. I think like the security is on the bus. So like really like travel schedule should not be an issue. Like you've got a process in place that needs to, I don't know.
I'd be curious about that. Ask some people down there, like what was wrong with the schedule? Because their schedule, it's not, like you said, they didn't have any night games. They had one night game on a Thursday, so like didn't even matter. Where'd they go? They besides the division, they went to Seattle. No, that was home. Sorry. No. They went to San Francisco. I knew they went out west. Jacksonville, not a long trip.
They went early to San Francisco.
Then they
went to London. That probably didn't help.
They did go to London. That'll get you. I'm thinking,
I don't think they were on the team plane to London.
Right.
I cannot say that with 100% certainty, but I believe I remember people telling me at the time, like, actually the message at the time was like, hey, this trip actually isn't that bad because we're not using the team plane.
All right. Fair enough. But They went early, right? They practiced out
They
there.
did, yeah.
They
They
didn't
went
do the
on
Friday.
Thursday.
A
Yeah.
lot of teams like to go out there Friday.
Right.
I will say toward the end of the year, they had coming out of the bye, they had at Arizona and at Buffalo back-to-back weeks. I don't know.
Arizona, I think they went early. I think they went on Friday for that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I would ask the players what a better schedule would be because
Right.
you don't want to be. There's no reason to be bad at scheduling, but I do think one pushes the other. If the plane sucks, people are gonna be like, "Yeah, our schedule sucks too."
It's true. All right. We're at the 50-minute mark. You said this was going to be a shorter podcast. It wasn't. Those don't exist. We don't
I
do
have a
shorter
passage of
podcasts.
time thought for you, Doug.
Sure.
We struggle with this, and I was talking to someone about this today. So when I got my license in 2002, which is of course when everyone got their license, I drove my mom's old 94 Acura Integra.
Oh, yeah.
Which at the time was definitely an old car,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it was 2002 and I'm driving a 94, like it's old.
Yeah.
I currently in 2025, this is a brag, drive a 2011 Honda Civic, which is much older in 2025 than a 94 Integra was in 02. But it just looks like a Civic out on the road.
Yeah.
And now a part of that is car technology.
Right.
You know, like an early 90s car looked different than the 2000s car. But I get in the thing, and obviously it's a go-kart. It's nothing special, but it's paid off. So I'm going to drive it until it explodes.
Yeah.
I don't feel as though it would be like in 2002, Doug, getting in a 1988 car.
That's
and I can't grasp it mentally. Like I'm getting in a 14-year-old car. Like what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's going on.
That is interesting. No, I'm with you on that one. Cause when I was in high school, I initially drove a 1990 Volvo and it felt old as hell. But I do think the big thing there is that somewhere around, let's say 1995 or 6, cars changed. Like they became more rounded edges. They all looked a lot more sleek.
I would say look at like the Ford Taurus for that, where you're like,
right.
maybe the headlights more rounded.
Yeah. More like gas efficient, all those types of things. So I think that is a big element there where like cars don't look that much different than they did 15 years ago. Whereas 20 years ago, a 15-year-old car looked like a boat. Like my 1990 Volvo was like driving a boat, basically.
Right. I just Googled 2025 Honda Civic and they made the grill look nicer, quote unquote grill, but it's the same junky little car. And then my other family car is a 2014 CRV, and that was always my new car. And now that thing's 11 years old.
Right.
And it's like, damn, I'm going to need a new car at some point is what I'm getting at. But it's tough. It's tough. But yeah, that's where the struggle is today.
When you pay off a car, you are just like, oh man, this thing's free now. It's sweet.
Right. And then the transmission goes and you got to drop a couple grand, but you're like, that's like 2 car payments. Well,
yeah,
it's a lot more. It's a lot more than 2 car payments, but you get the point. If you're putting in less than whatever, $2,000 a year into repairs, you're doing all right.
You're probably still making out better than you would with a new car, unless you value.
What locked me into this one was I looked at new cars. Cars got really expensive during COVID. I don't know if you caught that one.
Yeah.
So you were smart to jump on your truck. You were like a first wave brave guy.
$20K, baby.
What's it now? Probably 40.
Yeah, the new ones are still relatively cheap, but if I were to sell my truck, I think I would be able to sell it for as much as I bought it.
Yeah, that happened to a lot. Like I think my brother bought a car in 2020 and sold it in 2022 for the same or more.
Right.
And it was basically free car for 2 years.
Yeah.
But that happened, and then the tires were pretty bare, and I drive my kids around, so I'm like, so I put tires on. I'm like, I'm in this thing for the next 3 years at least.
Yeah. Now that it's got new tires, you're set for a while.
And then I became a CD guy because of it, because it has a CD player. So I buy new CDs when they come out and listen to them on the CD player. It's amazing technology. You don't need to get your phone out. You don't need to plug anything in or connect to Bluetooth. You just get in and it's playing already.
Wow.
From where you left off. Have you ever heard of this?
I would actually, I don't know how many cars I had a functioning CD player in.
Well, you would get the Discman and the tape.
Well, yeah, because my 90 Volvo had a tape deck, so I would have to do the tape deck into the CD player. I had a 96 van when I was playing in bands that I believe also had the tape deck.
Right.
After that, I think I had a 98 Jeep Cherokee that might have had a CD player.
I bet it broke though, because like just
Right.
realistically, they broke.
And then I had a 2007 Ford Focus that had a CD player, but by my 2015 Ford Focus, I don't know if I
It might have
did.
still. No, it's borderline because
That
people are
I think
moving on.
did, but then I had a 2016 Mazda 3 that didn't, I believe. And then our Mazda CX-5 doesn't, and my Ford Maverick doesn't. So like it's like almost kind of like a shockingly small window when cars actually did have CD players.
It's like 12 years of like definitely has a
Right.
CD player.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful as a CD guy, because one night I think I was watching football, might have had a few drinks sitting on the couch, and I got an Instagram ad. What is the Wonder Years on Hopeless Records?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mhm.
It was like a Hopeless Records, 25% off, blah, blah, blah. So I'm clicking, and all the CDs were $6.
Wow.
So I bought a few CDs and maybe like a shirt and hit order. And then I get a thing the next day like, oh, one of those CDs is out of stock. You get $6 back. I'm like, ugh. And then the package came, and I had actually ordered the same CD twice. So, and I was like, it was $6. I'm not going to return it. So you just got to be careful when you're shopping for CDs out there. You might buy the same one twice.
I'm not going to lie. This might be the most unrelatable topic that we've ever had on the podcast.
We're pushing the bounds.
Buying CDs is something that like maybe one or two other people
I recommend it.
I can relate on this one.
I love it. It's fun. I bought the Blink-182 CD when it came out. I went to Newbury Comics and bought it like I was 9 again. It was great.
Do you have like a Mike Hurley CD player rap? Do you like write it down in a notebook which song you're listening to, and then like tabulate at the end of the year to see what was your most listened to band, track, genre, all those different things?
Yeah. I should. I have had Last FM tracking my music for the most part since like 2004, which is pretty crazy.
I actually just started using it again recently.
Yeah. So you can track my music back to freshman year of college, which is nuts.
That is, for mine, it's like from college and then like a 20-year break and then now. And it hasn't changed that much, if we're being honest, you know.
It's pathetic how little it's changed for me, but what can you do?
All right. Well, I think this nears the end of the podcast. Not in
talk
general,
about any
but just
other old guy stuff while we're here.
I don't think so. I'm a pretty tired guy right now. I've been powering through. I think we've done a good job of discussing the New England Patriots, the NFL scouting combine. There are a couple stories I wish I could tell on this podcast, but I don't think they would. You know, maybe next week, maybe I'll have the bravery to tell some of these stories, but
you got to flush it out. You got to see what's reportable.
Right. And we're Andrew and I are going to write something for Saturday or Sunday, just releasing all of our thoughts, everything that we've gathered, everything that we've learned at the scouting combine. I've given maybe like one or two previews in here, but then I think it'll be smart to join back up for another podcast to discuss some of that stuff. So that's something to look forward to for everyone. But until then, rate, review, subscribe. You got anything else?
Yeah, my top artists of 2006, it was Alkaline Trio, followed by Taking Back Sunday, Thrice, Piebald, Blink-182, Coheed and Cambria, Newfound Glory, Brand New, Green Day, Metallica. Not much has changed in nearly 20 years, sadly. What are you going to do?
Yeah, no, that is true. I don't even know how to find that. So that would be top artists.
We'll get you there. You got to change the date range. It's a little bit convoluted, but yeah.
All time for me is the Beach Boys, followed by Owen, Bruce Springsteen, Saves the Day. I don't listen to Owen as much, but I certainly listen to those other bands a decent amount. But then the last 90 days, my top ones are the Lemon Twigs, Newfound Glory, Bad Religion, Sabrina Carpenter, and the Ramones. So I don't know. There's some new things in there, but not. I'd say 50% or more is still what I was listening to back then.
It's not great in terms of growth, but you like what you like.
It's true. All right. We'll talk to you guys again later. Goodbye.
Bye.